The prediction series rolls on, and today we're going to talk about the New York Jets defense, the defensive line, and the linebackers. All right, let's get this thing rolling. We have a lot to get into. I have the Jets carrying a ton of defensive linemen, and I think for good reason. And we'll talk about the linebackers all in one big encompassing video. We're going to start things out with Quinn Williams, who is obviously one of the bigger names on this New York Jets team and is, well, he's due for a very, very big season because, well, a contract extension is hopefully coming for him after this upcoming year. Year 4 in the NFL. It's a very important year for him, so we'll see if the New York Jets re-sign him or not. Now, a little caveat. We'll be talking about sacks, pressures, snap percentage, tackles, tackle for loss, and forced fumbles for the defensive linemen. But for the pressure numbers, I'm using Pro Football References pressure numbers, not PFFs. PFFs seem a little bit inflated. So if you go off of PFF and are like, hey, wait a minute, I thought this guy had like 60 pressures. Like, how is he only at whatever? Well, just know we're basing this off of Football Reference, so we're keeping it consistent, okay? But for Quinn Williams, I'm going to go with 7 sacks, 19 pressures, 58% of the snaps, a little lower than I would probably like it, but they're going to rotate a lot. 61 tackles, 8 tackles for a loss, and 2 forced fumbles. That would be a really nice year. Is it a phenomenal year? No, it's not. And that kind of puts the Jets, I think, in no man's land, unfortunately, because you'd love for him to break out and give you like 10 sacks, double-digit tackles for loss, a couple more forced fumbles, more pressures. But I think he's going to be solid again for this New York Jets football team. And 7 sacks and a couple forced fumbles. I think you sign up for that. And over 60 tackles, that's pretty good. As for John Franklin Myers, he's going to be busy. He's going to play on the outside and the inside, so I'm going to have him play more snaps than Quinn Williams. Spoiler alert. I have him at 6 sacks, 22 pressures, 62% of snaps, 41 tackles, 5 for a loss, and 1 forced fumble. I love JFM. He's so versatile. He reminds me of one of my other favorite players in Jets history, Shaun Ellis. I have his jersey, and I met him, and he was signed. He signed it for me, but he was one of my favorite Jets growing up, if not my favorite defensive Jet. I know Revis is better, and there were other better Jets, but I don't know. I just really liked Shaun Ellis, and I really like John Franklin Myers. Sue me. I like the guy. I think he's a good player. 6 sacks. That's pretty much exactly what he did last year. Again, he's going to get his pressures from the inside and the outside. I would imagine on early downs, he's going to play more outside than kick in on like pass rushing situations, which is fine. Jermaine Johnson up next. What does the rookie do? I think he has a solid year. I don't think it's going to be phenomenal, but I think it'll be steady. I'm going to give him 5.5 sacks, 15 pressures, 51% of snaps, 35 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, 0 forced fumbles. I know some people are holding out hope that he's going to be a double-digit sack guy in year 1. Not me. I don't think that's realistic. I think he settles in for someone who, is going to give you maybe like 8 sacks a year when it's all said and done. And if he gives you more, great. I think that's phenomenal, obviously. But for me here, I'm tempering my expectations because, we're going to rotate. I had him at 51%. I think he's going to split time with a lot of guys on this defensive line. They're going to move him around a ton. But overall, I like Jermaine a lot. But remember, pass rushers develop a little bit slowly. He's going to be an immediate impact guy in the run game. We know that for a fact. Pass rush, I think he'll be okay, but I think it's going to take him a year or two to really get going there. Carl Lawson. Oh, baby, Carl Lawson's coming back, and this might be my hottest take. I use this on the internet, on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, which you should, you've seen this one already. But I think Carl Lawson comes back, is healthy, and breaks the streak of the Jets not having a 10-sack guy. Yes, 10 sacks for Carl Lawson, 40 pressures, 62% of snaps, 38 tackles, 3 for a loss, and 2 forced fumbles. I can't wait to see him on the football field, man. This guy is very, very good when healthy. I think he's going to be back. I think he's going to be effective. And, man, this defensive line has the chance to be really, really good. I'm so excited to see Carl Lawson. I think he's going to be an immediate impact guy once he returns and is in the lineup. We were all robbed of the opportunity of seeing him last year, and I'm so upset that we didn't get a chance to see him. Sheldon Rankins is up next. I have him at 1.5 sacks, 9 pressures, 55%, 29 tackles, 4 for a loss, 1 forced fumble. Sheldon Rankins is what he is at this point. I don't expect his sack numbers to really be there. Again, he's going to be kind of heavy rotation guy, which is fine. I just don't. I was a little disappointed with him last year. I had higher hopes. I think realistically, probably on earlier downs, I would think that he's going to be the other interior guy. Maybe it's Solomon Thomas, more on him in a little bit, but I think he's going to get his reps. So what I have him at 55%, which is right around what he did last year. Bryce Huff is up next, and I really like this guy in a rotation role. 3.5 sacks, 16 pressures, 49%, 21 tackles, 2 for a loss, no forced fumbles. This guy is just solid as a rotational guy. He got hurt last year, probably was asked to play a little bit more than where he really should be. And he's depth. The Jets just have a ton of depth on this football team, especially on this defensive line where I think they're the deepest. And he's going to get his chances. Michael Clemons, I'm going to have him at 1 sack, 6 pressures, 46% of snaps, 20 tackles, 2 for a loss. I don't expect to see him a whole lot. He's going to be a part of the rotation, but I don't think he's going to pop off the page. He's a 4th round rookie. It's really asking a lot to expect too much more, especially when you have other guys like Bryce Huff and the guys like Jacob Martin and Vinny Curry, who they really like a lot too. Let's do Solomon Thomas next. 1 sack, 5 pressures, 48%, 27 tackles, 4 for a loss. I think he's going to be better in like the run game. I know usually like he's kind of pin your ears back and go, but I don't really have high hopes. I think he's going to be just like fine, just a guy, so to speak, a jag, just kind of taking up a roster spot and is giving you okay play in the middle. Him and Sheldon Rankins will split time. When it's not Quinn Williams and John Franklin Myers in the middle. He's a veteran. He knows the system well. I think he'll make the team because of that. Jacob Martin, the Jets love him. 1 sack, 7 pressures, 42%, 25 tackles, 2 for a loss. They really like him. And he popped a little bit in Houston. I thought he showed you something. Was he amazing? No, of course he wasn't amazing. But I think, again, just some depth here. And to round out the defensive line, I have Vinny Curry making it. Yes, they're going to carry him. I think he's worthwhile. 0.5 sack, 8 pressures, 42%, 20 tackles, 2 for a loss. Vinny Curry, he just does it year after year. I know he's up there in age. I get it, but I think he's a good veteran presence to have on this team, like Solomon Thomas too, a good veteran presence who's going to know the system. And again, this is a guy who you need your depth. The guys are going to get banged up a little bit, and you could feel comfortable running Vinny Curry out there on 3rd and long situations. Again, is he going to put up like the 8 sacks that he did earlier in his career? No, but he'll get some pressure numbers and he'll be all right for this football team. I'm looking forward to seeing him in 2022 back on the field. And let's go to the linebackers because there was a new addition to the linebackers recently. You have CJ Mosley, Kwon Alexander, the new addition, but we're going to start with CJ Mosley. I have him at 1 sack, 10 missed tackles, 142 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, and 2 forced fumbles. I think he is going to be better than what he was last year. I know he ended up, I think it was like 160 tackles or something crazy like that. I don't know if it's going to get up that high, but Mosley is probably never going to be the week 1 2019 version that we saw of him. He's probably not going to be the Baltimore Ravens version. He's probably not going to be a Pro Bowler again. Just personal opinion. Hope he proves me wrong, but I think he could still be a solid linebacker. Is he going to be worth that $17 million a year? Probably not. The Jets aren't in a position where they have to worry about that. Salary cap space isn't really an issue with this team, but CJ Mosley is a good veteran leader and will show you, solid numbers, and he'll be okay this year, which I think is worthwhile on a young team because, let's face it, the last 3 draft classes are Joe Douglas's, and they've are going to really try to build through that. So it's okay to have some veterans on this team who, are just going to teach the young pups a little bit. Is he an expensive teacher? Yes, he is, which is probably the reason why I don't think he's going to be back after this year. But they don't really have anybody else who you're really all that comfortable with, especially not before they signed Kwon Alexander, who we're going to talk about in a second here. So CJ Mosley absolutely has to stick around because he's a captain on the defense for good reason. Kwon Alexander, I'm excited to watch. I think he splits time with Quintin Williams, and unfortunately, Kwon Alexander gets hurt a lot. But I'm going to give him 2 sacks, 3 missed tackles, 54 total tackles, 5 tackles for a loss. This guy just flies around the field. He's not great in the run game, but he could finally cover out of the backfield. You can cover tight ends. You can cover running backs. The Jets very much so got burned with Quincy Williams and CJ Mosley in coverage at the linebacker position last year. When Kwon's on the field, he is going to be their best coverage linebacker by a long shot. So I am thrilled for that. I think this was a great Joe Douglas signing, and I think he plays. If it were up to me, I'd put him next to CJ Mosley, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a mix with Quincy Williams and Kwon Alexander. So don't you worry if you're a Quincy Williams fan. Here's the numbers: 1 sack, 12 missed tackles, 74 total tackles, 2 for a loss, 1 forced fumble. The guy is a wrecking ball running around there. He runs like a man possessed. Supposedly he's gotten a little bit better in coverage from what I've heard so far in the offseason and what we've seen so far from him at camp. So he'll play. The Jets really like him. They like his potential a lot, but Kwon Alexander, veteran, knows the system, higher upside in terms of coverage. So Quincy will play, but I think they'll split, like I said. And then Jamie and Sherwood and Hamza Nasruddin, I think they'll kind of be more special teamers, but I'll give you their numbers kind of right in a row here. Sherwood, I have 3 missed tackles, 28 total tackles, and 1 tackle for a loss. Nasruddin, 3 tackles, 26 tackles, 3 missed tackles. And again, most of that coming on special teams. But overall, I think we're going to see the sack numbers go up. The Jets were towards the bottom. I think they'll be towards the top 15-ish, somewhere in that range in sacks. And they finally have a double-digit sack guy that we're going to see in Carl Lawson. So I am thrilled to be able to see that. Let me know what you think of the predictions down in the comments below. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary. I'll catch you next time.